Another controversial decision was with Sean Strickland versus Dricus Du Plessis. Dricus Du Plessis won the fight by a split decision, 48-47 on his side. And the judges scored it by giving Sean Strickland the first and fifth rounds, and Sal D'Amato is the only other judge that gave Sean Strickland the third round. So every judge gave the first and fifth to Sean, second and fourth to Dricus, and one of the judges gave the third to Strickland. Now, it looks like a lot of fans are thinking that Strickland won the second round. It's the round that he caused damage, and therefore he should have won the second round. Well, let's try to end this debate by categorizing every single strike in accordance to damage, light, medium, and heavy. And the way to make this kind of simple is light strikes are going to be like the weak shots in the clinch, on the ground, punches and kicks that land from distance as the fighter's moving away, no real big impact. The medium shots are going to be like clean strikes that don't rock the opponent or stun them. Heavy strikes are going to be the ones that do visibly hurt the opponent, or they cause some kind of swelling or cuts or anything like that, because we do know the judging criteria emphasizes cosmetic damage. And remember, light strikes are not really that important. They contribute more to cumulative damage than immediate, and we're really looking for immediate damage here. But if there aren't any, then we go to cumulative. So let's go right into the second round to determine who won this very close middleweight title fight. Right in the beginning, Sean Strickland lands a jab through the guard. Then they both land a jab on each other. Not much damage from these strikes. Then Dricus goes and lands a low kick. Nothing too much there. Then another low kick that gets checked. There is this forearm strike to the back of the head as Strickland was throwing a left hook. Technically, you could count this as a strike while Dricus is throwing his punch, so he opened up the back of his head to that. We'll come back to it if it's important enough. Then Strickland throws another jab through the guard, and this one looks like he hits that left eye of Dricus that later swells up. Another jab from Dricus, and he follows us up with a front kick to the chest. This jab from Strickland hits the guard. Then he opens up Dricus' guard from the side, hitting him around the guard with the right hook. Another jab from Strickland. Then Strickland goes and posts with an elbow frame as Dricus is blitzing in for that left overhand. And the left overhand, it's hard to tell if it lands, but it looks like it hits the trap past the head. Another jab from Strickland lands as Dricus is looking to spin, and Dricus' spinning back fist does get partially blocked. He's not able to rotate all the way around, but he does land it. The Strickland goes and lands 3 very light jabs. A couple of them are like probing, trying to get away from Dricus as he's extending that lead hand out there. And then Dricus answers with a low kick. So far, none of these shots are really causing any damage. Now, this is a very weird sequence, I guess. So Strickland's throwing a left hook. Doesn't really have much power in it, and Dricus is covering up, moving to his left side. You can clearly see that the left hook does get blocked on the guard, and Dricus somehow slips while this happens. When you watch it live, it can make it look like he got rocked by a left hook or something, but you do see him look at his feet afterward. It looks like the punch gets blocked and Dricus slips after. Then Strickland lands a big jab on Dricus that snaps his head back, and we do know that Dricus said after the fight that Strickland's jabs were very powerful. Like, he definitely felt them when they landed, and this is definitely a kind of reaction that shows a heavier jab. The follow-up jab after that does miss the target. Then Strickland probes 2 jabs at him as Dricus is looking to attack. Very light strikes, and then Dricus comes over the top with an overhand that grazes Strickland as he's moving away from it. Then after, Dricus lands a flush body kick. Strickland lands a slapping inside leg kick. Dricus throws one of his own and seems to have hit the foot. As you can tell, the vast majority of these shots that both of these guys are landing are pretty light. And then Strickland opens him up for the right straight. So he throws a left hook that does not land on the target. It looks like it stops where the guard is, but that opens up the center for a good right straight from Sean Strickland. His biggest punch of the fight so far, and it got a good reaction out of it too. Then Dricus goes and lands a calf kick. May have been slightly checked by Sean Strickland. Just really hard to tell because we don't see it. A jab lands for Strickland. Then Strickland lines up Dricus for the right straight as he probes with the lead hand. He actually didn't throw it like a jab. He kind of just kept it forward, and Dricus walked his head into it and pushed forward. So I don't know if you would actually call that a strike. And he goes and grazes a right straight off like the corner of the forehead that Dricus takes very well. So I might put this like in between a light and medium strike. They both land a jab on each other. Strickland lands to the head while Dricus lands to the body, neither really causing any damage. Then weirdly enough, in Dricus fashion, he gets his leg kick checked twice. So he threw one leg kick and got checked by both of Strickland's shins. So the foot hits the left shin, and then it follows through and hits the right shin as Strickland goes to check it. Strickland goes and lands a jab through the guard again. Doesn't really get much of a reaction out of it. And I'm just waiting to see when the eye starts swelling up and when Strickland gets that cut. Then Dricus goes and lands 2 body shots. The right hook was definitely a little bit bigger. Flush punches didn't hurt Strickland too much, but they definitely landed very clean. Another jab through the guard for Strickland. And that seems to be the jab right there at 1 minute and 35 seconds left of the second round. This jab looks like it lands toward that left eye, and from the point that we see that his eye is swelling, there's no other punch that you see in between those that lands toward the eye, so we can definitely say that that last jab caused the majority of the damage to the eye. Then a pawing right hook as Strickland's moving away, no real power in that kind of punch. Now, we don't know if this left hook from Strickland lands. We know it goes past Dricus' right arm and he swings it like a hook. It doesn't really show any kind of impact, but Dricus does follow the punch. He moves his head with it and throws an overhand, grazing Strickland as he's moving away. Strickland's moving away and he throws a jab, but we can't really see if it lands. And Dricus goes and hits him with a body kick flush. Strickland does try to grab onto it afterward. Another probing jab from Strickland. And then as he's blitzing forward, Dricus lands a weird, almost Russian left hook as Strickland's moving away. And that left hook right there opens up a cut. So it's going to be scored heavier than the reaction from the blow itself. Followed up by a slapping leg kick from Dricus. Then Dricus mostly slips the jab of Strickland and lands a left overhand into a right straight combo that snaps his head back. This is probably the biggest punch of the round so far. Then Dricus goes and gets a single leg takedown, but was not really able to do much with it, and while on the ground, Strickland lands 5 punches while his back is up against the fence. Strickland checks the leg kick, landing with the foot, then another jab through the guard lands for Strickland. Dricus answers with a jab and tries to land a left overhand, which Strickland dodges, and he hits Dricus with a slapping right hook, landing with like the wrist or forearm. It's hard to tell if this front kick lands due to the camera angle, and it doesn't look like Dricus' body really reacts to it, besides him trying to block the kick and move his body away from it. And Strickland lands another jab to end the second round. So let's tally up all the strikes. Who really won the second round, ultimately winning the fight? By tallying up all the strikes, Sean Strickland landed far more shots overall. He had a much higher output, 11 more total strikes, 15.5 more light, but Dricus has way more medium shots, and they both have one heavy for the cosmetic damage they inflicted on each other. And as we know from the judging criteria, damage trumps everything. Immediate impact trumps cumulative impact, so you're gonna have to give the second round to Dricus Du Plessis, but it is rather close. It's those body shots, man. Too many of those body kicks, and Sean Strickland waited a bit too much for his power punches. He stuck behind the jab a little too much, especially jabs while moving backwards. And it seemed like he was just waiting for Dricus to gas out before he presented his power forward, because in the 5th round, Strickland came out with more power, with more aggression. For the first like 3.5 rounds, it looked like Strickland was just waiting for Dricus to get tired. And now let's go into the 3rd round, which is another one that the judges disagreed on. At least one of them did. These 2 rounds were very close and competitive. Sean Strickland lands the first punch of it, a jab through the guard. Then Dricus lands a head kick, slapping him with the foot. If he landed that with the shin, that could have been a massive hit right there. This left hook from Strickland does not reach far enough to land. It kind of just pulls the arm forward. Good push kick from Strickland, gets him away a little bit. Then follows it up with a jab, splitting the guard. Low kick for Dricus, doesn't really get much out of it. Now here Dricus lands a counter power jab that snaps Strickland's head back. Then Strickland partially checks Dricus' leg kick, and he follows it up with a flush body kick afterward. This right straight may have landed at the very end of the punch, perhaps, or Strickland moved his head away from it. Regardless, it's not really going to impact the scoring at all, but just want to mention it. And then Strickland comes up with a very weird uppercut that looks like it touches Strickland right at the end of the punch as he's moving away from it, and then Strickland counters him with a downward slapping right hand. Now Strickland puts together a combination. He lands a jab through the guard and then glances a right hook, as Dricus is also dipping to his right side to throw a left overhand, decreasing the impact of that right hook. This left high kick looks like it gets right in front of Strickland's face, looks like it falls short to the target. Then they both land on each other. Strickland lands that probing jab moving away, and Dricus' right body shot didn't have much power in it. Another probing jab from Strickland as he's moving away, and that right overhead from Dricus may have just grazed the eyebrow. It's very hard to tell though. Strickland checks the low kick. Then Strickland intercepts Dricus with a downward jab through the guard as Dricus is trying to advance forward. And then Dricus lands a big body kick off of a forward momentum that gets a pretty good reaction out of Strickland. This is the biggest shot of the 3rd round so far. Definitely a lot of power in that kick. And these body shots did seem to have slowed down Strickland in that 5th round. So we do know there is an effect that happened later in the fight due to some of these body shots. And This is one of the biggest body shots of the whole fight. This jab does not reach the target. The full extension seems to have stopped in front of Dricus' face. But then as Dricus tries to advance forward, he gets intercepted by another probing jab. Another body kick from Dricus. Not as much of a reaction from the last one, but a decent kick nonetheless. Strickland lands a jab through the guard again, and Dricus lands a pretty good leg kick on Strickland. This is one of the better leg kicks of the fight. Most of the area hit is toward the hamstring. Strickland hits Dricus with a very slight left hook as Dricus is trying to move his head back away from it. This right overhand from Dricus, hard to tell if it grazes, if it just touches. Definitely does not land clean at all, but the camera angle makes it hard to even count it. But regardless, it's not going to really matter to the scoring of the round. We got to pay more attention to the heavier shots, the medium and heavy strikes, than the light strikes. They both land on each other. Strickland lands a probing jab at the head, and Dricus lands a body jab. Then Strickland follows that up with another jab through the guard, which seems to be a common occurrence in this fight. Dricus really does keep his center very open when he's blocking punches. And then after he lands a left hook, as Dricus is looking to dip for an attack. Dricus then lands a long-range jab from distance, blitzing in there as Strickland is looking to get away. And yet again, another clean left body kick. He's literally winning these rounds off these body kicks, man. Dricus dips and throws a left overhand, and only he would land it with the top of his forearm. Look how he lands the overhand on Strickland. Dricus is one of the weirdest fighters out there, but he makes it work. And of course, this causes no damage at all. And as Dricus is looking to exit away awkwardly, Strickland easily lands a left hook to intercept him, but there wasn't much power in that punch. Strickland lands a jab through the guard again, very quickly snapping back Dricus' head, and then awkwardly, as Dricus is spinning, he lands a slap on the side of the head of Strickland. Dricus slightly lands a left overhand as Sean Strickland's moving away, and Strickland grazes a left hook jab across Dricus' face. Strickland checks another leg kick. Jab slightly lands through the guard after it grazes past it, and then he follows it up with a left hook that just touches around the guard very slightly. And then another checked leg kick from Strickland. He's gotten really good at that. Strickland lands two probing jabs as he's moving away, and Dricus grazes a left hand of his own, but it seems like it might have been open palm. He tried to end the combination with the right straight, but it looks like it misses, and also does get partially blocked as Strickland is moving away from the punch and toward his right angle. They both land a jab on each other, then Dricus follows it up with another jab. It lands a right uppercut in the clinch, and lastly lands a left overhand over the shoulder. Then Strickland goes and lands two jabs. A third one may have landed as well, but it looks like from the camera angle, it could have also fallen short. Regardless, very light attack. Even if it lands, it's not going to impact the scoring of the round. Dricus goes and throws a left overhand that grazes as Strickland's moving away from it, and Strickland touches Dricus with a left slap. And then Dricus follows it up with a right overhand that hits with the forearm behind the head. So I don't know if we're going to count this one because it is a back of the head shot. But then again, Strickland was also moving in this exchange, so is it really Dricus' fault? We'll come back to it if we have to. Strickland grazes a jab through the guard. They both land a jab on each other, and as Dricus throws a spinning back kick, he slightly hits him with his calf. Strickland lands a thrust kick to the body, and Dricus counters with a combination ending with a leg kick. Then Dricus lands a pretty good shot, a darting jab from distance, snapping Strickland's head back. There's a lot of weight and momentum behind that. And as he gets into the clinch, rotating out for the exit, Strickland grazes a right hand as Dricus is moving with it. Another jab through the guard for Strickland. Dricus counters the jab with a punch to the leg, glancing jab from Dricus, followed by a glancing right straight from Sean Strickland, and he ends the third round with a big left overhand. Now by tallying up all the strikes here, the total number is a lot closer. He only landed 7 more total strikes, 13 more light, and very similar to the second round, Dricus has much more medium. They both have that 0.5 heavy, and it's a very similar dynamic to the other round. Strickland held back on his power so much, and it looked like he was waiting for Dricus to get tired before he pounced on him. And the power puncher yet again defeats Sean Strickland on a scorecard. So, did the judges get this fight correct? They did. Very close though. I would not call this fight a robbery though. This fight was very competitive, and it just continues to show that Strickland has a hard time on the scorecards when he's going up against power punchers. And specifically in this one, I think he held back a bit too much in those second and third rounds, waiting for Dricus to get tired. Because the aggression he showed in the 5th round was way more than he showed in the mid rounds, but he did slowed down in the 5th because of all those body shots in the 2nd and 3rd from Dricus Du Plessis. There's too many big body shots he was landing on Strickland, and I don't think he expected those. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to give this a like, make sure to subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. The reaction results video is coming up very shortly, and I'll see you guys then.